I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today, we're going to review for you an album by a band called the Maccabees, which is that how you say that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's how I say it, the Maccabees. And sometimes I endearingly refer to them as the Maccabees. but they're an English act that in January 2012 came out with an album called Given to the Wild. We've had a few of our viewers through various social media sites tell us that they want to know our thoughts on Given to the Wild. So we decided we were a little short in albums, and this is one that actually has gotten good reviews, and you know, our viewers like it. Hell, that's all I need. We're going to review it at Velocities in Music. So we put this album, listened to it a whole bunch. Tom liked it right away, and let me tell you something. I did not.
No.
We
had a lot of good conversations about this one because I'm like, yeah, I like it, I dig it. You know, I think they've got a good sound. I think they got good writing here. And Jake's like, I do not know what you are seeing here.
Yeah. It took me a while because really, when you think about the sound of this album, it's borderline arena rock. You know, it's very, very British rock of like what you would, you know, what I call 2000s British rock. Very much, you know, I would call, you know, the guitars really remind me of Coldplay.
Yeah.
There's some Radiohead elements in there as far as just, you know, the distortion, how they write their parts, really how they use the instrumentation to control the intensity of the song. You know, in addition to that, there's just been a plethora of other artists. I'm blanking on the name of the artist from that one movie that we reviewed a long time ago. I remember.
Oh, British Sea Power?
No, not British Sea Power.
I did the soundtrack. I thought maybe that's what you're talking about.
No, but anyways, you know, there's just a lot of artists that have done bands of this style or sounds in this style in the recent, you know, the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing I was like, well, what else are they really doing here? And then the other thing was that vocally, you got Jim James on vocals.
It sounds exactly like Jim James
from My Morning Jacket. It just sounds exactly like him. This bothered me at first. I will say that all of these things that really bothered me, the more I dug at this album, the more I listened to it, the more I was able just to set those things aside and go, okay, those really don't matter, because the vocals actually, Jim James, while it does sound like Jim James has a good voice, and the vocals aren't bad here. The presentation, the vocal parts are never bad on this album. And one thing that I really liked about it is there's two just standout qualities of this album, and that is the instrumentation is very well done.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Totally
a lot
agree.
of the parts are just fantastic. And when I'm listening to this and listening to it closely and analyzing all the different instruments going on, it rocks out.
Yeah.
I really get into it. And it's just produced so amazingly. It's just gorgeous how clean and crisp everything sounds. I really dug that, and I think that's the sort of thing, it just takes a few listens to get into it. So let me be an example for all of you that it takes, when you don't like something at first, really don't just give up, don't just go, oh, this isn't for me. Give it time, because even music that you don't initially like, you might like if you give it, you know, a 3, 4, 5. I gave this one 6 listens and I like it now.
Yeah.
So Tom, what was your take on Given to the Wild?
Well, at first, you know, like you said, I did like it at first because I think I was just able to get through some of those things. You know, definitely the vocalist sounding a lot like Jim James. That's the first thing that caught me. But I was just noticing that there was a lot of unique interplay between the vocals and the instrumentals. Because the instrumentals, I definitely agree with the kind of arena rock sound. I got a lot of kind of post-rock stuff and some of the more ambient stuff. They incorporate some electronic elements in there a few times, like in track 4, Ayla. That's one of my track picks. I really like that. But more, I like that there's builds, but not too many builds. They don't do it every track. There's lots of good dynamics. They know when to bring it down. They know when to really rock out. And so I just found that the more I listened to it, the more I just consistently liked almost every song for what it was. I think there are a few weaker ones, and especially at the end, I got a few that slumped a little bit. I wasn't a huge fan of the closing track. It was all right, but it sounded like kind of a Coldplay big, you know, thing, like you were saying. Sometimes they sound a little bit like Coldplay.
I feel like that is one thing that kind of holds this album back, is that it's a little too safe in style. They're not taking as many risks, but they make up for it with just, you know, great songwriting and instrumentation.
And to me, I do blame a lot of that on the vocalist. I think he has a good voice. I think he writes good parts. I feel like he never really hits it out of the park with his performance as far as really packing that emotional punch.
Well, and
it stays a little safe.
Yeah, and really, when you have, one thing I pointed out was you have really big dynamic builds, and it's all in the instrumentation. The vocals
they
need
don't
to
match.
match that, and they never do. And that is one thing that I think was, a big problem with the vocals. While I like the tone, I like his vocal melodies, I don't like the intensity that he put behind his vocals when things are going crazy in the instrumentation. The other thing is, I thought to dive into the production a little bit. How and you're the production expert, right? I'm just passive onlooker to production.
If you say so.
I think I understand how it works, so you just tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
So mixing, I hear this album and it's mixed in a way that I found to be pretty interesting. Normally, in a guitar rock band, guitars are a little louder in the mix. Not so on this one. There's tons of reverb on the guitars, and they're a little bit lower in the mix. This inherently makes the bass play a bigger role, and I really liked the bass on this album. I thought that the bass parts were very strong, and really it gave it. The reverb and mixing the guitars lower in the mix really gave this a bigger atmosphere. And that's where I think that the slight almost arena rock edge came out, because it really felt like their sound kind of had this this aura to it that it could fill an arena.
And that's a good observation, and I think part of the reason for that is because a lot of the times in mixing, what you have getting in the way of each other are guitars and vocals.
Yeah.
They occupy a lot of the same frequency ranges, so you have to find a way to, either pan the guitars out of the way so the vocals can be in the center channel, set up some kind of sidechain compressor. You have to find some trick to make that work. Now here, where the vocals, while you do have kind of a pop, kind of arena rock sound, the vocals aren't always the focus, and they're a little softer a lot of the time. Like we were saying, the guy never really belts it. And because of that, the vocals don't get too much in the way of the guitar, and the guitars can actually afford to be a little softer, and that brings out the bass and the drums in the mix a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
Overall, I felt like this was a pretty strong album, and I think that I would feel comfortable giving it a solid good stamp. So I'm going even 80.
I'm going even 80 as well.
Hey, we agree. Yay! So Tom and I agree often, and sometimes we disagree. I know you guys kind of like it more when we disagree, so hopefully in the future we can pick out some albums that we really get a big disagreement on. But overall, this is a good album. Given to the Wild, if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. The Maccabees, they came out with this in January 2012, so it's definitely out there. And if you want to read stuff about it, there's a lot of information out there about this album. And overall, it's a very good album if you like this sort of kind of British indie rock sound. 80 from us. What do you guys think? Let us know at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and do me a favor. Let Tom and I know if you really want us to review the new Crystal Castles album. Because I can tell you what, there is one album we don't want to review, and it's that one. But if you guys want it, we will do it.
Now you're just asking for it.
I know I am.
We did this with Nicki Minaj, and it did not work in our favor.
No. But anyways, that's where you can let us know if you really want us to do it. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
Trust you, you can tell me it's fine.